Alright, folks, here it is. The God's honest truth about trucking. Living on the road, and basically what companies to choose if you're interested in being a truck driver and you're not sure where to start or what to do. This video is not a recruitment video for the company I drive for. I'm an owner-operator, and this video is not a recruitment video to draw people to my own deal. Okay? I'm an owner-operator, but I'm leased or signed on to a major carrier. So I'm under the carrier's corporate umbrella, even though I'm an owner-operator. And I'm not going to give you the name of the company simply because this is not a recruiting video. This video is to tell the general public simply this. If you're interested in being a truck driver and you don't even know where to start, what to look for, how to go about doing your research, that's what this video is about. I'm going to give you a couple of basic pointers that you want to look at. Number one, if you're the type of person where you don't need to be home very often, well then OTR, or over the road, might work out really good for you. If you're the kind of person that you want to be home relatively often, then being on a special fleet like a dedicated account or regional might work for you. It all depends on what you're actually looking for. I'm not trying to recruit you for the company that I pull for. I'm not trying to recruit you to work for me as an owner-operator. No, I'm here to tell you the God's honest truth about how to start on your research. I'll give you a great example. As I said before, just a moment ago, if you don't really need to be home often, being on a national fleet or over the road might work out well for you. But if you want to be home relatively often, you need to look for certain things. I'll give you a great place to start. A lot of these truck stops, such as Pilot, Flying J, Petro, TA, and quite a few others, those are just some name brand truck stops. They will have, I guess for lack of a better word, a bulletin board somewhere inside that store that has trucking company leaflets inside that bulletin. You can go up to that bulletin, pull one of the leaflets out of the pocket, and start reading on that little leaflet. If you get really curious, look up the website that the leaflet, as a great example, let's just say if you're looking at a company called Creek Carrier. It happens to be the company I'm leased to or signed on to. So I'm going to use that one as an example. You go into one of these truck stops and you go to this bulletin board, or better yet, you can always go to the truck stops where they have this, for lack of a better word, newspaper stand. I'm sure there's a better term for it, but that's the term I'm going to use, where inside of that stand there's a whole bunch of different pamphlets on different trucking companies. Look at the website. If you're interested in the general basics on that little leaflet, then look somewhere on that pamphlet or leaflet will be the company's website. The company I'm driving for, creekcarrier.com. That's their website. Get on there, do some research, find out what they offer, and then here's something you want as far as their insurance, their pay rate, their benefits, how often their home time is, what fleets that they offer. And then something else you can do. Let's just say you're one of those ones that you like to be home relatively often, at least once a week, maybe every couple days. Okay, here's what you can do. Let's just say that you live in a major metropolized area such as Dallas or Fort Worth, Texas area. Okay, you go to one of these distribution centers such as Walmart DC, Lowe's DC, Home Depot DC, Tractor Supply DC, whatever, any distribution center, and you find out what trucking company is in that. Now obviously, let me just use Walmart as a perfect example. If you go to a Walmart DC, a distribution center, you're obviously going to see Walmart trucks and Walmart trailers everywhere in their yard. That's a no-brainer. It's a Walmart distribution center, go figure. But you're looking for the other company that has a contract with them. Let's just say, I'll give you a great example. If you go to the Walmart distribution center in Cheyenne, Wyoming, you're going to see a lot of creek carrier trucks and very few creek carrier trailers. But you'll see Walmart trailers everywhere. Now, if you see creek carrier trucks, just tons of them all over the place inside of that DC, chances are Creek Carrier has a contract with that distribution center. And if you're within 100 miles of that DC, chances are you might be able to get home relatively often running out of that distribution center for Creek Carrier. If you go to a Lowe's distribution center and you see a bunch of J.B. Hunt trucks in that distribution center, chances are J.B. Hunt has a contract with that distribution center, and if you drive for J.B. Hunt and within 100 miles of that DC, chances are you can be home relatively often working for J.B. Hunt. Okay, I'm going to give you one more example and then we're going to move on. Let's just say, as an example, you live within 50 to 100 miles of a Home Depot distribution center. You go check out that DC and you see Werner Enterprise trucks everywhere inside that DC. Now, obviously, you're going to see Home Depot trucks in there too because it's a Home Depot DC. But if you see Werner Enterprise or J.B. Hunt or Swift or Knight or Crete or any of these companies, just a whole bunch of their trucks in and all over inside that yard of that DC, chances are if you drive for that company working out of that distribution center, you can be home relatively often. And that's one of the things you want to look at. If you live within 50 to 100 miles of a distribution center, that's one of the things you want to look for in your research. Also, check to see when you call these carriers, such as Creek Carrier or J.B. Hunt or Swift or Knight or Werner. I mean, there's got to be like a million carriers out there. I guarantee you, no matter who's going to be watching this video, I promise you there is a trucking company local in your area somewhere. It may not be a major name company like some of the ones I've mentioned, but there is a trucking company local in your area, I promise you. I don't care what part of America you live in, there is a trucking company in your area, relatively local, I promise. I don't care if you live 100 miles outside of Miami, Florida, in the middle of nowhere, I promise you there's a local trucking company close to you. If you live in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, I promise you there's a local trucking company somewhere close to you. Now, as far as hazardous materials goes, it is statistics that no matter what company you drive for, well, let me reword that part. It is a fact, let me put it that way, it is a fact that less than 1% of the freight that moves all over this country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Canadian border all the way down to the Mexican border, everywhere in between, from Maine to San Diego, California, less than 1% of the freight moved across this country is hazardous materials. Okay? Now you're thinking, well, wouldn't hazmat pay more? Well, in some companies it does. Some companies you get 2 cents a mile more for hauling hazardous materials. Some companies you don't get paid any more, except for the fact that you get a load that's moving where the next guy I'll give you a great example. I don't have hazmat on my license. I do not have hazmat on my license. But if you have hazmat, you get another load and you're getting paid to haul that load while I'm just sitting there doing nothing because I don't have hazmat. So in that sense, I guess you can say it does pay more. Now, in doing your research, you also want to, when you talk to these companies, one of the first things they're going to want to know is your zip code, so that way they know how often they can get you home, or if they're going to have trouble getting you home. Okay? While you're doing your research for these companies, find out if they have a traffic lane that runs through your house to where you can be home relatively often. Okay? A traffic lane or a freight lane, whatever you want to call it. Okay? You want to check in on that. You also want to check to see if there's a lot of daytime or nighttime driving, or if it's going to be flip-flopping. Sometimes you'll run days, sometimes you'll run nights. You're going to want to check on that. Some people, they can run days or nights. I personally can't do it. You notice the surrounding right now is lit up. That's the sunlight coming in my cab. Okay? I've got my window curtains pulled to block most of the sunlight, but it's daylight out there and I'm up right now. So I don't run nights because I can't do night shift. My body will not readjust to a night shift schedule. It just won't do it. I cannot sleep in the daytime. I'm 47 years old and I've worked night shift on a couple of different jobs as a welder and fabricator, and on my way home a few times I almost got in a wreck because I fell asleep behind the wheel. I can't do night shift. But if you're one of those people where you can sleep all day and drive all night, great, no problem. That's one less thing you have to worry about looking into. So one of the things you want to do, go to some of these local truck stops and see if they have these pamphlets of trucking companies. Call these companies, look on their email, look somewhere on that pamphlet. There's going to be a website that you can look at. Go to your local distribution centers, whether it's a Walmart, a Lowe's, a Home Depot, a Sears, Tractor Supply, Whirlpool. It doesn't matter what the distribution center is. Go to one that's relatively local and see what company is contracted in there to pull their loads. You want to look into that. When you call these trucking companies, find out what their insurance is, find out what their benefits are, their vacation time, get all that information. Oh yeah, if you're one of these people, like myself, I have a dog that travels with me. You want to check on their pet policy. Inquire on their pet policy. You also want to look into their rider policy. And what that simply means is, let's just say if you're on the road and somebody in your family wants to take a trip with you, you're going to have a passenger for a little while. The company calls it a rider policy. R-I-D-E-R, rider. You want to check in on their rider policy and their pet policy. Some companies allow pets, some companies allow pets. Most companies allow passengers. Some companies don't allow passengers. Some companies you have to wait 90 days. I'll give you a great example. I used to drive for Night Transportation. You had to work for them a minimum, I think, 60 days or 90 days. I don't remember which one, but something. You had to pass some type of probationary period before they allowed you a passenger. And then it could only be your spouse. And then you had to prove that that's your spouse by providing a marriage license. Well, Werner Enterprise is a little different. When I drove for Werner Enterprise, they didn't care who the person was as long as they had proper and legitimate ID to prove that they are who they say they are. Simple. With Werner Enterprise, the day I was issued my first truck, I was able to have a passenger that same day. So you want to look into all that. You also want to check into how they're going to get you to the terminal. Whether they're going to put you on a Greyhound bus, whether they're going to fly you in by airplane, or whether you have to rent your car and they pay you back for the rent-a-car. You want to look into all that. That's just some of the basics on how to start doing your research for beginning to be a truck driver. Some companies actually have their own trucking school that they can put you through, and then once you get done with the school, they issue you a truck, and you have to drive for them under a contract until that school tuition is paid off. That might work for you. I personally wouldn't like that, because if I'm with the company 6 or 8 months and I don't like the way things are going, I want to be able to cut ties and go to a different company. So the company's school does not work for me. So I went to an independent school. That way I can do what I want to do after that. You might want to go that route. Anyway, that's just some of the basics to getting started, doing some research, to looking for the right trucking company for you. I'm welcoming any and all comments on this video. My comments will be open. If you have any extra comments you want to add to it, please feel free. If you want to, heck, for that matter, you could even trash me out if you want. I really don't care. This is not a recruiting video. Notice I did not give you my truck number. I didn't tell you how good or bad Creek Carrier is. This is not a recruiting video. This is a video specifically designed to help give you just a few of the basics to beginning your research to find out what trucking company is right for you. Now, I will tell you this much. On one hand, all the trucking companies are the same. It doesn't matter which one you work for, they all have to abide by DOT regulation. Every single one of them. So if one of them says this is DOT, chances are you can bank on it that that's DOT. If they say this is company policy, then chances are DOT has nothing to do with that rule. That's a personal company rule. So you need to look in on all that. As far as the pay range goes, I can tell you this much. Being over the road or on the national fleet, you're going to wind up making more per mile than what you will if you're home often. You get paid the longer you're out. Longer you're out equals more money per mile. It's just that simple. They pay you to stay away from home is the bottom line. So anyway, I don't know who all is going to be watching this video. It doesn't matter. I'm going to leave the comment section open for those of you that want to join in and add a few things. Maybe I've forgotten a few things. I didn't write any notes before making this video. This is just right off the top of my head. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody who is considering going into trucking and you don't even know where to begin. This video is for you. Hope it helps. Signing off.